We recently learned more about just how ambitious the aborted plans for the Acolyte were, but even if they had come to fruition, it wouldn't have helped, as the one season of the Acolyte was so bad it's tanking the, by all accounts decent, skeleton crew. Let's dive in. The days when Star Wars was the biggest entertainment brand in history are long since gone, courtesy of Kathleen Kennedy and her chosen creative partners like Rian Johnson and Leslie Headland. Now it's just another random sci-fi fantasy series which is failing on Disney+. Skeleton Crew, the current series to fail on Disney+, is by all accounts decent, and something the older fans, in theory, should be happy to use as a gateway to introduce their children to Star Wars, except for two problems. One, there are hardly any older fans left to pass it on, so Lucasfilm had to get them back first, and they didn't. And two, the children of today, which the series is meant to appeal to, didn't grow up in the 80s. The Amblin entertainment vibe might pull on the heartstrings of people in their mid to late 40s and up. But to most kids having grown up with YouTube, it's horribly quaint, which indeed you can tell from the ratings, or lack thereof. Then it doesn't help that the few remaining older fans that are still left may enjoy it. It's another commercial failure, because it's the wrong series at the wrong time. And the problem for Disney and Lucasfilm is that in the aftermath of The Acolyte, there might not be any right series, or even a right movie for that matter, at any time anymore. The damage may simply be too great. Showcasing just how out of touch the powers that be at Lucasfilm are though, it was recently revealed just how much they believed in The Acolyte leading up to its release. That story came to us from That Park Place, and their write-up, the Acolyte creator Leslie Headland planned for 3 seasons and a movie, according to Star, a write-up which reads, "The Star Wars universe just can't seem to win lately." Perhaps the greatest example of modern Lucasfilm's shortcomings can be found in the story of The Acolyte, the controversial Star Wars High Republic Disney Plus series by Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslie Headland. The series was cancelled after a single season, but one of its stars let slip that Headland had ambitious plans for her creation that included 3 whole seasons and a movie. Recently, Manny Jacinto, known for his role as Kymir in The Acolyte, shed light on Headland's original vision for the show during a panel at Fan Expo. "I remember Leslie's dream was for us to do 3 seasons, not just this one," Jacinto said. But there's something about having a finite ending to things that makes it so much more special. Yeah, that's some copium right there. So yeah, I don't know if I do it or not. Oh, you would if it was happening. But you know, 3 seasons and a movie would have been incredible, and I know we had so much more to explore with that second season. Yeah, so much more identity politics, so much more feminism, and of course, so many more lesbian space witches, which Lucasfilm has a recent obsession with, I guess. Because that's all the first season was, ideological propaganda wrapped in a Star Wars skin suit, and a poorly fitting one at that. The story continues. Headland's creative direction aimed to delve deeper into the Star Wars lore, with Jacinto hinting at significant plot developments that remained unexplored due to the show's cancellation. Specifically, Jacinto addressed the brief appearance of Darth Plagueis in the final episode, suggesting potential connections and future storylines that could have been explored in subsequent seasons. Well, considering how those connections were explored this time around, it was probably for the better that Headland never got the opportunity to carry on her sabotage. The write-up continues. Despite Headland's ambitious plans, The Acolyte faced significant financial and viewership challenges. The series reportedly cost upwards of $230 million to produce, a figure that likely exceeded $250 million when marketing expenses were included. These substantial costs were not matched by viewership numbers, which fell significantly short of expectations. Season finale viewership was recorded at 41% below that of Ahsoka and 50% lower than Andor, both of which were already considered commercial disappointments within the Star Wars franchise. This, of course, will be Kathleen Kennedy's true legacy. Not supposedly being the greatest producer of all time, for also being in the room bringing coffee while spurting stupid nonsense, while Steven Spielberg and Frank Marshall worked their magic between the two of them and with whatever director they were working with at the time, like Robert Zemeckis. And for real, that is what Kathleen Kennedy would do as a producer, say a bunch of stupid crap.
I remember Kathy came into the room with her steno pad and her pencil, and she was horrible at taking notes, and she was terrible at, she didn't really know how to do it very well. But what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence. We'd be pitching ideas back and forth, and Kathy was supposed to be writing these ideas down, suddenly put her pencil down and would say something like, and what if he didn't get the girl, but instead he got the dog?
Right, Kennedy won't be remembered for those movies Spielberg and Frank Marshall made. She'll be remembered for overseeing the total destruction of Star Wars at the altar of identity politics. Indeed, the defenders of the Acolyte, themselves obsessed with identity politics, to the point where that is all they're capable of seeing, have convinced themselves that that has to be the only reason why Dude Bros allegedly launched a hate campaign against the series. It couldn't possibly be because it was poorly written slop and propaganda that no one ever bothered watching, because slop and propaganda is what audiences expect from Star Wars these days. That's incidentally why Skeleton Crew is failing right now as well, even if, by all accounts, it is neither slop nor propaganda. But not many enough are tuning in to find that out for themselves. Because just a few months ago, the Acolyte turned the Star Wars sloppiness and propaganda up to 11, and proudly declared that fact to the world, which is why the world tuned out in record numbers. Indeed, in an interview with Vulture, Alan Bergman, co-chairman of Disney Entertainment, shed light on the decision to cancel The Acolyte and explained the primary reason behind the cancellation: cost. While the series, according to him, performed reasonably well, which in this context is sugarcoating for that it flopped worse than they expected even in their worst of nightmares, it just didn't reach the level of success needed to justify its budget. And obviously, it didn't reach it by a wide margin. And seeing as they're willing to blow nearly $700 million on Andor, that is obviously some budget. There is no way to spend that kind of money on slop and propaganda and expect the audience to keep tuning in. But when they do anyway, then before long, even by all accounts decent shows like Skeleton Crew will be dismissed and ignored as well, no matter how unfair that may be. That, however, is the price to pay when a brand decides to push the toxic ideology which culminated with a series like The Acolyte in the first place. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments.